rivals go head-to-head this weekend when the Pirates face the Cubs at Wrigley.
Swing and a miss. He stuck him out.
The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app. ESPN Radio. This is the Thundering Herd podcast.
I remember when Indomitian Sue came into a studio about 5 years ago, and he weighed like 330 pounds and had a flat stomach. And I'm like, you're 330? Calvin Johnson, Detroit Lions wide receiver, played at Georgia Tech, and I met him before the draft, and he was like 6'5" and a half and 225, 230, and you'd have thought he was 180. I'm like, how is a corner going to muscle you, on a seam route? They weigh 190 pounds max. Leonard Williams weighs 310, and when you meet him, he looks like an NBA 3. He's like skinny, and he's 310. That means he'll probably add 15 pounds. When guys, a lot of people go to gyms, and there's roids, or it's creatine, or it's Winstrol, and they jack up. But you can tell, you can see their wrists, you can see their neck. They're not naturally big. You see a lot of guys, even in the NFL. Mark Schlereth will drop 40 pounds when he leaves. He's trying to keep that on, man. He's eating sandwiches, protein shakes, Teddy Bruschi. They're doing everything to keep weight on. The guys that tend to be transcendent, they carry weight, and it's just DNA. It's from dad and mom. Wherever it's from, Leonard Williams, I just saw him. He's 315. I'm telling you, he looks like, Carmelo Anthony. I mean, you're just like outside of the hair, he's like thin. 315. That guy's going to be a star. That's not about Gold's Gym. That's not about creatine. That's just big dude natural. So the NFL schedule gets released tonight at 8 Eastern, and it's a big deal. My wife probably wants to get frisky tonight. Can't blame the young lady. Not going to happen. Honey? Titan schedule's coming out, not interested. I'm sorry, beautiful woman. It's not going to happen. Honey, Raven schedule, not interested. I want to see who they play in week 9. Stop pouring the cocktails. Give me a warm cup of soup. Yeah. Oh, the Redskins bye week is week 7. Honey, tomorrow nighty, not tonighty nighty. And you laugh at me, but we used to laugh at the NFL draft. Now it's huge. It beats NBA playoff games. We used to laugh at the combine. I still think it's just guys running around in underwear. It gets gigantic numbers. This schedule tonight is a big deal. And a lot of you are like, cut. We already know who everybody plays. You're right. It's just now putting it in order. Yeah, order matters a lot. The example I always use for people who don't think order matters. First of all, why do bands and fireworks shows have a big finale? Springsteen, you know every song he's going to play. You're going to go to Billy Joel. You're going to go to whatever band you go to. They have a set list. They're trying to create this emotional crescendo, so you end on a great, and you drive home with your girlfriend, your buddy, your wife, and it's like best show I've ever seen. They got a playlist, fireworks shows. You don't blow it up early, you blow it up late. Every order matters. And the example I've always used with order is marriage. If I was married for 10 years, or you were married for 10 years, and you told me first 5 were rocky, last 5 have been great, I'd be like, you're home free. You got over the young, 20-something year, home free, marriage is rock solid. If I told you first 5 were great, last 5 are hell, I'd be like, you're going to get divorced. Well, it's 5 and 5, right? No. The order of things, the momentum of things matters. And I've always had a theory about the NFL. About 5 teams in this league have stars. Aaron Rodgers, Luck, Brady. They just lead you to wins regardless. They just lead you over the hill regardless. Most teams in this league don't. Joe Flacco's good, he's not Brady. Tony Romo's good, he's not Rodgers. Those are also really good guys. But if you don't have a Pro Bowl level quarterback, that's half the league to 60% of the league to 70% of the league. There's a lot of Miamis, Buffalo, Jets, Minnesota, Washington, Kansas City, Cincinnati. A lot of those teams in this league. Arizona. If you don't have that guy, I want to know what kind of quarterbacks you face and in what order. And let me give you an example. The New York Jets did a lot of things well last year. There's a very good football team defensively. They can run the football. They got some nice personnel. But when I looked at their schedule last year, I said they'll never overcome September 14th through October 16th. They had a 6-game stretch. And in that stretch, in order, they faced Aaron Rodgers, Cutler, Stafford, Phillip Rivers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. I said they're going to go 1-5. They went 0-6. And it should be noted, 4 of those games were nail-biters. They had Green Bay dead, lost. They had Chicago beat, lost. Toe-to-toe with Detroit, lost. New England, 27-25, lost. They could have gone 4-2. But those Pro Bowl quarterbacks late make a play, they lose. So instead, because they beat the Raiders, instead of being 5-2 and all the momentum in the world, they basically caved on Rex Ryan, they gave up on Geno Smith, and now they got a new coach and they're looking for a new quarterback. Totally changed the franchise in 1 year. So this idea that it doesn't matter and order always matters. Even drinkers. What do drinkers always say? Beer before liquor, never been sicker. Liquor before beer, you're in the clear. So even alcoholics have an order to things. So I hear this all the time about, all I need to know, it's all about order. I always said when Charlie Wise was at Notre Dame, if you'd have reversed his wins and losses, he'd still be there. He was great first couple years. Then he went into the tank. If he'd have been into the tank and caught fire, because they had a contract, they weren't going to fire him, and he caught fire, he'd have gotten another big contract. So it matters. Tonight's a big deal. And you can laugh at me, but I really like the schedule release. It is 8 Eastern tonight, and I know tonight my wife's going to come in. You can't blame the poor girl. And she's going to look to kick it with Sandy. And I'm going to be like, honey, turn the music off. Honey, Chargers, Week 9, hosting New England. Pipe down.
Colin Cowherd. Looking good. Well, looking okay.
The Thundering Herd Podcast.
Golden State is really fun to watch. Listen, I said before the season, I thought Chicago would beat Cleveland, and then LeBron would take about a year to get this team together. And then I thought Cleveland and LeBron would win about 6 straight Eastern Conference championships. Chicago's a tough watch offensively. I'll say this, and I'll say it again. I'd build around Jimmy Butler before Derrick Rose, and I'm in the minority, but I've never felt that Tom Thibodeau's strength is dealing with a 43% often hurt point guard. Jimmy Butler, to me, is the Kawhi Leonard of the East. He's like right below the stars, but emerges every year as a go-to guy. Chicago dominated the boards last night. I'll tell you, in the NBA playoffs, physical wins a lot of games. Memphis beat Portland. They were more physical. Last night, Chicago dominates Milwaukee on the glass. Jimmy Butler's good late. I just think that offense is clunky. I just really watched that Chicago offense. In the first half, it was a mess. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what the plays were. So, and they have a defensive-minded head coach, so maybe that's just part of their thing. Out west, I thought New Orleans outplayed Golden State in the first half, but Golden State has got this talent. They may be the greatest shooting team I've ever seen. Seriously. Between Klay Thompson and Curry, I don't know if I've ever seen a team that can score 9 points and 12 points as quickly as they do. They're unbelievable when they start shooting well. Now, the downside is I think they too often rely on threes, much like LeBron, Battier, Miami did last year, and it was their undoing. But I'm rooting for a San Antonio, Cleveland NBA Finals. I make no bones about it. I root for my eyes. My dad was an optometrist. I'm always very concerned about my eyes. Golden State against LeBron is the best, most attractive series. The Clippers would be fun too, but that's the most attractive series to me, so I'm going to root for the most exciting series. What is that supposed to be?
Splash Brothers.
Oh, God, that's awful. Are they an official term now, Splash Brothers? I mean, I know
it's been a term for years.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous.
Let me say this. They didn't give it to themselves like your guy LeBron called himself King James. So don't get on them about a nickname that was bestowed on them.
By the way, he didn't call himself king.
Yes, he did.
Like all royalty, it was bestowed upon him by some little boy at a playground park that said, look at the king. He just jammed over 7th graders. I can guarantee you LeBron is far too humble to come up with that himself.
Kobe gave himself a nickname?
Kobe's got a big ego. He would, yeah. So Pat Riley is, has been one of the deal makers in the NBA for 20 years. And he came out yesterday, and during a press conference, he finally took a shot at LeBron James. He said, and no more smiling faces with hidden agendas here. 7 words. No more smiling faces with hidden agendas. So basically what he said is, LeBron sold him one thing and Ed did something else. There's 2 points here. First of all, LeBron left and he was right to leave. Look at Miami since he left. A bunch of guys who were hurt. They were an old team. Ray Allen was leaving and retiring. Battier was retiring. Dwayne Wade couldn't stay healthy. Mario Chalmers was a head case. And Bosch had become increasingly finesse and inconsistent. He dropped a bagel in a Game 7. Or go play with Kyrie Irving, one of the great young talents in the league, and either Andrew Wiggins or Kevin Love. So number one, it was a no-brainer, and you're seeing the result of it. LeBron made the right move. Number two, Pat Riley is upset somebody's engineering something. That's like him being upset another GM used hair gel. He's been the number one deal maker in the NBA for 20 years. And one of the things Pat Riley has done is steal other players when nobody knew it was coming. He is the ultimate recruiter. He's the Urban Meyer, Pete Carroll, Nick Saban of the NBA. He makes deals. He closes after midnight. That's what he does. But what this is an example of is executives getting older and not liking how young athletes are empowered now. That's what this is. It's a transfer of power. Executives used to run the league, and they're still very powerful. But now star players run the league. This is no different than Howard Stern at Sirius. Howard Stern now runs that network. The executives don't run the network. Howard dictates terms. By the way, Paul Harvey was so big in America. A lot of you guys under 40 have never heard of him. Paul Harvey was so big in America on the radio. He was so powerful that in his last contract, another company came up to him and offered him to leave, I think it was ABC, and they offered to give him 100% of the profits. They're like, we're not going to make any money. Any money we make, you make all the profits. We just want to steal you from ABC. That's how big Paul Harvey. When you get as big as LeBron, you run the show, not executives. Okay, that's the way it works. It works that way in radio, and I've been in it 20 years. It works that way in music, where the guys now, they're creating their own record labels. They don't need the executives. And by the way, you can hear, here's Pat Riley, here's the cut. Just hear, you can hear the bitterness.
No more smiling faces with hidden agendas. Okay, so we'll be going in clean.
I sensed rancor there. Heard brought to you by Regis. New way to work. Call 1-800-OFFICES, 1-800-OFFICES. Give me that splashing sound again. You know what that was? That's not the Splash Brothers. That's sour grapes. Pat Riley is stepping on sour grapes right there. That's what. He's making a great wine. That's a good line, Vince. He's stepping on sour grapes, making his own wine. Yeah. Hey, no work stoppage for the comedy writers here.
Is that part of your stand-up act?
Maybe it is. I'm going to punch you right in the head.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
He has refined his game. 16 years later, Todd McShay is joining us. This is massive. You only have 25 of these available in America. It's your NFL. It's a yellow pages, essentially. It's incredible. Player rankings, evaluations. Where do you get all this stuff? Is it scouts, GMs?
Well, I've got 2 guys who work with me, Steve Mensch and Kevin Weidel, and we cross-check each other. We make sure we watch at least a minimum of 4 tapes. Usually it's 8 tapes because we'll go back to the junior year or the sophomore year, depending on when they come out. And it's all the evaluation part is based off of our tape evaluation. That's where our grades come. And then the character information and medical we get from the teams. But we've actually been fortunate with Exos, who has databases and does the tape for about 18 to 20 NFL teams. We work off the same database. So what we've printed out there in that book is color copy of just what's in that database.
All right, let's go through the draft. Tampa Bay selects first, and they pick
Jameis Winston.
That's understood. Is some of that because local product, if he became big and you didn't draft him, it would not land well in the area?
I don't think so. It might help offset with ownership a little bit, some of the character issues, but I think it's based purely on football tape, just studying him. And no, it's an apples-to-apples comparison with him. Now, Mariota has all of the physical tools, the individual parts, if you will, from the arm strength, the mobility, the size, everything you want. But what he doesn't have is a catalog of tape where you watch and you say, that's an NFL throw. That's anticipating throw to a spot like you have to do on Sundays. And I think that, to me at least, is the difference. It's very easy to watch Jameis Winston's game and translate it to the next level.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, do we have any crowd ambiance to make this sound like the NFL draft and feel like the NFL draft? I want to make this feel real. Why not? Why can't I ad-lib, Stanzik? That's called radio gold right there. Why don't you learn from your mentor, Uncle Ronaldo?
Just ask some questions. Let's go.
I want to make this authentic. Okay, listen. All right, there you go.
Mouthy.
The Tennessee Titans with the number 2 pick.
Trade the pick.
Whoa!
The Titans have made a trade. We'll be back with the details in a little bit.
What kind of end around was that?
I think, in order, I would say the Jets. I'm still holding out for Philadelphia.
To move to number 2?
I think, as crazy as it sounds, I think that Chip Kelly's got something up his sleeve. Call me crazy. I think the Cleveland Browns are still a possibility, and I also wouldn't count out the Rams. The Rams have been kind of sneaking around the chicken coop with all these quarterbacks.
Okay, so now the 3rd pick goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, you believe the 2nd pick will be Mariota going to somebody.
A team moving up to go get Mariota.
The 3rd pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select.
I'm going to go with Leonard Williams. And it
flipped on that.
It'll be a tough decision between Amari Cooper at wide receiver for Alabama. It could be Dante Fowler from Florida, the outside linebacker. But in Gus Bradley's scheme, it's 4-3-1 play, 3-4 the next play.
That's what Leonard does.
Leonard Williams, you saw him today.
By the way, John, the draft's not held at the Rose Bowl. This is a ridiculous soundtrack. Good God. You make it sound like it's the AFC Championship. It's a room with 75 sports writers.
The crowd went wild after that trade. I'm sorry.
All right, with the 4th pick, the Oakland Raiders select
Amari Cooper.
They need him.
And they're thrilled. They're thrilled that he gets
that could be the best fit in the draft.
Derek Carr, young quarterback. You bring in the best receiver and a polished receiver. Yeah, the guy, he's ready to go tomorrow.
I think he's a really good player. Amari Cooper's funny because everybody's like he's not a burner. Here's what I know. And I watch a lot of Alabama games. Everybody does because they're on TV. Nobody ever catches it. So you can tell me it's great speed, not great.
And by the way, when did 4.42 become slow? Just because Kevin White, who's not as good a player, who's a very good player, don't get me wrong, but he's not as good a player, runs a 4.35, doesn't mean all of a sudden we freak out and change our rankings and who should be the best receiver.
All right, the 5th pick, the Washington Redskins select
Dante Fowler Jr., outside defensive end, outside linebacker, pass rusher, complete player.
Now the Rose Bowl became a phone booth, like 9 guys clapping. I ask you to literally run occasional sound bits on this show, and you've turned it into a barnyard musical.
It's like the 7th hole.
I'm not asking for Stephen Sondheim here, okay, people? Give me somebody that's capable. Just take over the board.
Like the European golf tour, someone just putted for bogey.
This is outrageous. Okay. The New York Jets with the 6th pick select.
Oof, this one's difficult. You can go a lot of different directions. They wanted the quarterback. I'm going to say that they wind up taking wide receiver Kevin White.
Now, I like that. A lot of people think Randy Gregory, but they're good enough in the box to me.
I think so, too. And Randy Gregory, as much as I love him, he's the best pass rusher in this class. I think there's no question about it. But he failed the drug test for marijuana at the combine. There's some other character issues that teams are concerned about. I think he slips a little bit.
Number 7, the Chicago Bears take.
They're miserable because they wanted Kevin White or Amari Cooper.
They're enough wide receivers.
Nah, Brandon Marshall's gone. Okay. They need another receiver opposite, but I don't think they're going to reach for a Brashad Perriman or.
So will they go Gregory?
I think they could possibly go Danny Shelton, the nose tackle.
That's interesting.
It's a good fit for what they want to do. I think at that point they might try to trade back and get extra picks though.
The draft's in Chicago. They're going to boo it. Come on, guys.
The draft is in Chicago.
Yeah, they want to
give John a little credit here. He's trying.
First, you're 1 for 3 now.
Not terrible. Okay, let's see one more. We're on in Atlanta. Well, I got the Giants, too. I want to get these quick. Okay, real quick. The Atlanta Falcons select
I'll go with Shane Ray, pass rusher, Missouri.
They need it.
Yep.
They need new linebacker. They need a lot of stuff on defense.
A lot.
Okay, the New York Giants, number 9, select.
Some people think Trey Wayne's the top corner from Michigan State.
No, I don't like him.
I agree. I'm going to go with Brandon Sheriff, the offensive tackle guard. They're one offensive lineman away. They're moving Weston Richburg into center. They've got Justin Pugh at right tackle. If Sheriff works out at tackle, then you move Pugh inside. Or if not, if they like Pugh at tackle, then they can move Sheriff inside. Either way, better run game and better job protecting Eli Manning.
And finally, the Rams at number 10 take
Devontae Parker, wide receiver, Louisville. I
didn't see a ton of him. I don't know much about him.
He missed the first 6 games, I think, of the season. Came back for 7 and had almost 900 receiving yards. I don't think there's a big gap between Kevin White and Parker. I think Parker is going to wind up. That's going to be I don't want to say a steal because it's the 10th pick overall, but I would like to see that, in terms of value. And I think St. Louis needs a true number 1 receiver, and he can be that guy.
Yeah, they've drafted a few receivers.
Yeah, they've got a bunch of 2s and 3s and 4s.
That was fun stuff.
Technology gone bad. Gone bad. This is the Thundering Herd podcast.
There's a story today. There's not much I can do with it because we're not allowed to use the audio, which I think is stupid, but we can't. Cincinnati Reds manager Bryan Price lashed out in front of about 10 media people, and he used the F word 77 times. And 10 more variants of other vulgarities, and a 5.5-minute rant focused on some published roster information he didn't like. The interesting thing to me is I sat next to this guy on a Delta flight about 6 months ago. I was flying Atlanta to Scottsdale, Arizona, and I sat down on the flight, and about 10 minutes later into the flight, nice-looking guy, regular dude, kind of just, dressed, looked like a business guy. And he's like, Colin Cowherd. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'm Bryan Price. I'm like, I'm Colin Cowherd. And he said, I'm Bryan Price. And I said, all right, that's nice knowing you. It was awkward. And then he goes, I really like your show. And I said, I really like your name. And then I found out like 30 seconds later, he said, I manage baseball. And I'm like, Mariners, Bryan Price. Yeah, Bryan Price. And just goes to show you that baseball, and any NFL coach would sit next to me and you'd know him immediately. And I'm like, Bryan Price, oh, you're, and he's like, Cincinnati Reds. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Colin Cowherd.
Yeah, interesting. So I sat there, could not have been more gracious. Wonderful guy. I peppered him. I'm kind of annoying sometimes. I peppered him for 3 hours on baseball questions. Believe it or not, I can talk baseball and read about baseball all day long. Watching games is tough for me, especially regular season games. They go on a long time. There's not a lot of urgency. There's massive inventory. We talked about why young Cuban players are better, faster than young American players. I mean, there were so many questions. He had all sorts of theories. Fascinating guy. Like, Cuban guys come into this sport and they're ready to play at like 20. Like, college guys aren't. Domestic players aren't. Why are the Cuban guys? And there's some basic theories on that. Could not have been a nicer guy. So it shocked me this morning when he went on a 77 F-bomb rant, because he's about the most. Can we air? Oh, we can air this part of the rant. Yeah, that's 77 times. Yeah, there was that. That's 77 times that was in the rant. I'm allowed to air that. I hate when our. By the way, it's some Fox station in Ohio or something, and we can't use it. Now, by the way, I love baseball managers. They do this about once, twice a year because the baseball season lasts forever. And the media really lives with the team for like 8 months. Games every day. Hal McRae, remember Hal McRae in the 90s, early 90s? He started throwing tape recorders and cut a guy's eye open.
Ask me that stupid 2 guys are not taking no players. I'm sick and tired. I'm fed up with everything. No you guys, no from you players. And they can do any thing they want to do. I'm sick and tired of all this bull. Now, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
That's Hal McRae. Now, one of the most famous, and I have a link to this, when I got out of college, I was very fortunate, and my first job was with the Las Vegas Stars, and I sold spots, and they gave me an inning. Paul Olden was the announcer. He was like the veteran. Paul's now, I think, the stadium voice of the Yankees and the Jets. Could be the Giants. He works, I think, WINS in New York, WINS Radio. very gracious, very nice guy. He was and then later Ken Korak, who's now the voice of the A's, was the other guy. So I was a kid, and you had these two major league announcers in the booth, and I'm doing an inning, and they probably hate me. And Paul Olden, years ago, when he was a kid, worked in Los Angeles, and he asked Tommy Lasorda, the former Dodger manager, Dave Kingman, if you remember Dave Kingman, the former great Met home run hitter, he wasn't a great hitter. He was a great home run hitter. He's about a 230 hitter. Tall, wiry, massive strike zone. Couldn't hit anything low and away. So Dave Kingman jacked 3 homers off the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium, and Paul Olden's this young guy, and he goes and asks him, hey, Tommy, what did you make of Dave Kingman's performance tonight?
What the do you think is my opinion of it? I think it was to put that in. I don't opinion of his performance. He beat us with 3 home runs. What do you mean, what is my opinion of his performance? How could you ask me a question like that? What is my opinion of his performance? He hit 3 home runs.
Yeah, it just ended on one long beep. So those are 2 of the all-time greats. This one, Bryan Price, it really started calmly, and then it sort of ramped itself up, and you were hearing viscerally, he was getting angrier and angrier as it went. If you knew the guy, and I know him from a 4-hour flight, it's really surprising it would be this guy, because he's really just an interesting... Now, when we sat together on the Delta flight, I was drinking and swearing. He could not have been nicer and more gracious. So I was like, wow, this guy just went cray-cray. He went nuts. Yeah, I was cursing a blue streak and just knocking down vodka. Yesterday, as I told you, I like vodka because I've never seen a weak Russian, and they wake up in the morning and have shots. So I'm now a big vodka drinker. No, I mean, every Russian I've ever met could literally bench press Delaware. So they all drink vodka all day long. So I drink vodka. I have a shot of vodka every night because all Russians are strong, and I would like to be a Russian. I don't like their government, but I like everything else about Russians. The flight attendant's like, that's enough. Quiet down. And I almost escorted her off the plane. I'm Russian here. Don't mess with me. I got Putin on my side. Don't screw with me. All right. The other thing, we got into a discussion this morning that was really interesting. So on this staff, Vince has a bunch of kids, and he's like mid-30s. John's a puppy, like 26, 27, and Stanzik's 28 but acts older. You act a little more mature than John.
You're 0 for 3 on our ages, but continue.
You're 20 what, 7, 28?
John's 30, I'm 29, Vince is 41.
John,
continue.
You're incredibly immature for your age.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. So you're younger than John.
I'm the youngest one here, believe it or not.
That's incredible. That really is sad for you, John. It really is an indictment of you. Because I would have thought you're like 13. But Stanzik this morning, oh, whatever. So Stanzik this morning, I was interested. So AC/DC's drummer, Phil Rudd. I grew up with AC/DC. Okay, I grew up in rural America. AC/DC and Van Halen, Aerosmith, that's who I grew up with. So I'm a huge AC/DC fan. And they basically, Phil Rudd, their drummer threatened to kill somebody. They're the all-time, like, #1 band from Australia. In my opinion, one of the top 10 rock bands in America that I've ever played here and toured here I've ever seen. So he's got, like, some charge. He threatened to kill somebody. And we started talking about AC/DC touring. And Stanzik went bananas. And this is very interesting because Bob Lee, who is the oracle at ESPN, I feel like bringing him on. Bob Lee loves Springsteen. And Springsteen and Billy Joel are New York legends. I mean, Billy Joel will sell out New York every time he goes to the Garden. Everybody loves Billy Joel. I've seen Billy Joel 3 times all over the country, live. He doesn't have the range. It's still a great show. It's still an incredible show because it takes me back to when I had pimples and something else. I don't know. I was like 19 years old.
You go to concerts out of nostalgia?
You know, it's interesting. Not often, but there's something about Billy Joel that takes me back to my younger halcyon days of life.
This is so out of character for you, though, because you're not a look-back guy.
I'm not.
I'm in the moment. I like where I am, not where I've been.
But there's about once a year, I went and saw the Eagles. I've seen the Eagles 4 or 5 times. They've been great, and it kind of takes me back to a different era. You, though, this morning, you hate the Stones now.
Oh, the Rolling Stones are awful. They're a great band, but I would not see them right now. Colin, they had their 50th anniversary tour 53 years ago. So they've been playing for 53 years. This is akin to you doing a radio show 53 years after you first started doing radio. How awful do you think that would be?
No, but when Billy Joel does Piano Man and takes me to a simpler time in my little life,
I look down on you for it.
So you think it's pathetic when people go to aging bands?
Paul McCartney is great. He's an icon. You can go to all these events. Please don't perform, though. When you first started performing, TV was in black and white. I don't need to hear you sing anymore. If I want to hear you, I'll put your CD on when it was recorded in the 60s. I don't want to hear you in 2015. You're not good right now. You were good.
What about U2? I love U2.
They're still kind of rocking, but they have new stuff that they play, and it would bother me. If they played all the old stuff, that'd be fine. It'd be passable.
So you don't like U2?
I like U2, but their new stuff, I could care less about their new stuff.
Yeah, but they're not old. They're not like the Stones, where they're...
Right, they didn't start in the 60s.
So, would you go to the U2 concert with me if it was in Hartford?
Yes.
Then they'd never go to Hartford.
Yeah, I would see U2.
Sinkhole. But you would go there with me.
I don't know about going with you,
no,
but
I'm
I
saying
would go.
You wouldn't be embarrassed to go to U2.
No.
What about Billy Joel?
I've seen Billy Joel. I think Billy Joel and Bruce are unique cases because Bruce, a lot of fathers take their sons to Bruce, and it's like a bonding moment. I think Bruce is an outlier. So is Billy. Rock bands, like who? Let me ask you this: who had a better halftime show, The Who or Katy Perry?
Katy Perry by a mile.
Exactly.
1,000 times better.
That's my point.
So you're saying with bands, it's kind of pathetic that they're still performing at 75.
Be doing your radio show at 80?
No, I won't be.
Point proven.
I'm in negotiations. I may not be doing it in 4 months. What about REO Speedwagon? I saw them. I sat next to them on a plane one time, and I asked the lead singer, where do you guys buy your gear? I've never been able to buy anything. Rock and roll guys wear the coolest stuff. I can figure out where they buy it at. Now, what about if I went to REO Speedwagon?
I hope you're going with a female.
What about Queen, Journey?
Well, Queen's lead singer is dead, so it's not the same.
Yeah. What about going to Queens for the weekend, just hanging out just in New York?
I'll pass on Queens, too.
Okay. All right.
That place is a dump.
Elton John can physically sing still 3 of his songs. He physically can still crank out at least 3 of his songs.
Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio. Last season, the Pirates reached the postseason for the 2nd consecutive season, only to be sent home early after losing the wild card. Will they return for the 3rd straight year? This weekend they face the Cubs, who have plans to make their first postseason berth since 2008. The Cubs and Pirates. The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app.
Bryan Price, a guy I sat next to on a flight 4 hours from Atlanta to Scottsdale yesterday, dropped 77 F-bombs and 10 more variants and other vulgarities in a 5.5-minute kind of diatribe. I wouldn't suspend him. I don't get it's swearing. First of all, I for some reason I know this, and I'm not sure why I know this, but they say swearing is actually good for you. That people that bottle stuff in, it's not as healthy for your heart. So I just go around swearing like a sailor all day, and I feel like $1 million. So I swear. I was, it's funny because New Year's resolution. I'm not really a New Year's resolution guy, but I thought about, I got kids and stuff, and I was thinking maybe I shouldn't swear so much. But I got to be honest, it makes me feel pretty good. Like my heart feels better when I swear. Like sometimes you got stress and you're like, swear a word. Oh, I felt better. You know what I mean? So I feel better doing it. And it's not like my kids aren't going to hear it anyway. So what do I care? Like my son's like, Dad, and I'm like, what? You're going to hear that in school in 4 years? Get used to it. I'm just prepping you for all the vulgarities of high school. So, but I wouldn't. Yeah, it's funny about what gets suspended, and this company's got stuff to worry about in that department. Everybody's getting suspended, suspend, not suspend. Don't people have a right to a temper? He didn't hit anybody. He just swore. Whether you're yelling at this person or that person, and, Bryan Price got upset. I wish we could play the tape. We're not allowed to play the tape. If you could play the tape, it's kind of interesting. He kind of ramps up and ramps up and ramps up. He's not like yelling as much as he is talking with F-bombs. He's not screaming and throwing stuff. Like we have the Hal McRae back in the 90s. He started throwing things at reporters and put a gash over a guy's eye.
Ask me that stupid 2 guys are not taking no players. I'm sick and tired. I'm fed up with everything. No you guys, no you players. And they can do any thing they want to do. I'm sick and tired of all this bull. Now, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Now, he threw something, and it hit somebody in the face and caused a gash. That I may suspend for. That goes over a line. You're hitting somebody. That's a violent moment. There was the Tommy Lasorda back in the 70s, got mad at Paul Olden, who asked him about Dave Kingman. Now, this is an angry guy.
What the you think is my opinion of it? I think we can afford to put that in. I don't. Opinion of his performance? He beat us with 3 home runs. What do you mean, what is my opinion of his performance? How could you ask me a question like that? What is my opinion of his performance? He hit 3 home runs.
Yeah, that's an angry guy. The Bryan Price audio, which I've listened to, he's really just talking. He's like, I don't understand why you guys have to air that stuff. I mean, you guys are airing that stuff, and I don't understand what the point of. That's what it sounds like. He's like talking. He's passionate, but he's not yelling. I don't know. I don't know. He's a wonderful guy. He's a delightful guy. I sat next to him for 4 hours on a plane, and we talked about Cuban baseball players and Cuban sandwiches. And he was interesting the whole time. Nice, gracious guy. But it's, sports is not your typical office setting. When you go into a locker room, people are naked. You don't go to the post office and like, oh, Judy's naked. You go into Ed, put your pants on, Ed. You're naked. You go into a locker room, nobody's got clothes on. They're swearing and they're playing loud music. So it's atypical to a work environment. So I've always thought when you go interview people, you got to kind of deal with it. You got to deal with sweat and you got to deal with swearing and guys are spitting on the floor. You don't walk into the grocery store and it's like, I'd like some arugula and Judy doesn't have any pants on. But that's what locker rooms are like. So if guys swear and spit and get angry, so what? I've been yelled at. I got Bobby Knight knocked a microphone out of my hand. Jerry Tarkanian dropped an F-bomb or 2 on me. I've had people, Charles Barkley made fun of my shoes. I've had all sorts of people. Dwight Howard told me he hated me 2 years ago. It's in my book. I walked in and he goes, I hate you. Whatever. That's okay. So to me, I hope Bryan Price doesn't get suspended. I wouldn't suspend him. And everybody always says, well, what's the message to kids? I don't know. They're your brats, not mine. Figure it out. It's not my responsibility to deal with your kids. I hate that argument. What about the kids? What about your kids? I like mine. I'm not a big fan of yours. I don't like kids. I like my kids. Yours I'm not interested in whatsoever. You worry about, everybody always says that. What about my children? What, you want to be a parent and have them? You like making them. You don't like parenting them. Okay, if you're going to make them, going to dance all night and drink that cheap wine, all right, cowboy, you got to parent them. It's not my responsibility. You figure out what to do with them. Okay? I'll care about them if they come over and play with my kids. I'll keep an eye on them with a vodka in my hand, watch off the deck, and they roll down the forest. I'm not going to pay that much attention to them. As I'm cleaning out my guns on my deck, drinking vodka like a Russian, y'all watch my kid and your kid bounce on the bouncy house. Yeah, it's been established I drink vodka because Russians never die. Look at Putin. He's 75 years old and looks like a teenager. But let's get back to the not me drinking vodka. Let's get back to children. I don't care about your kids and how you raise your kids and the messages to your kids. I barely, for my kids, if there's something on TV and it's ugly and it's sinful and it's naked, I'm like, well, that's bad. Don't watch that. So I don't know. I don't think swearing is suspendable. I really don't. We had a situation here at the company. They suspended people. I don't know. The way I look at it, too, everything now is on the air. iPhones, YouTube. Good God. Listen, I'm going to get caught on YouTube doing something really bad. It's going to happen. If I stay here for 10 years, the reality is you can't avoid it. I went on an Easter egg hunt. It ended up on a blog. Now, fortunately, I was very nice at the Easter egg hunt. Like a little boy pushed over a little girl to get eggs, and I went over to the little girl and I gave her, some of my... It's not a breaking story. It's just what happened in an Easter egg hunt a couple years ago, and it ended up on Deadspin. There was a little boy that pushed a little girl. The little girl cried, searching for eggs, and I went to the little girl and I said, here, have some of these. Then I tore into the little boy. Yeah, I'm not going to lie about that. I swore a lot. I went like Bryan Price on that. But I don't know. I just, the whole swearing thing and everybody's outraged and I don't know. I sound like a terrible dad. I'm really not. I'm mostly good, but I just don't care about your kids a lot.
Putting style in black T-shirts. It's Colin Cowherd, the Thundering Herd podcast.
Like, I really like the NFL schedule release tonight. I'm into it. I like it. I know it's a little dorky, but I like it. And I was writing a list of things that really still move me in sports because, you cover things for a long time. Some things move you, some things don't. I used to love college basketball. Now I like the tournament, but I don't watch the regular season. It feels kind of like it all gears toward that, 10, 12, 15 days of the tournament. But I was thinking how popular the NFL is and that I really look forward to the draft and I really look forward to the NFL schedule. Like tonight, I'll really have a lot of fun. I love the release of the NFL schedule. And I know it's dorky.
You're that nerd.
I get it. I mean, everybody likes something that's dorky. I just watched them the last week. They talked about the new Star Wars stuff, and everybody was talking about Star Wars, and I watched Star Wars. It was fine. It didn't change my life, but, Star Wars, a lot of regular people really gravitated towards Star Wars stuff, and that's fine. Whatever, right? So I was thinking, what interests me most in American sports today? I would say number one is the NFL playoffs. Number two would be the NFL regular season. Number three would be major college bowl games. Number four would be the college football season. Number five, and this drives people crazy, but I would say the World Cup. I love the World Cup. I really do. Team USA, United States men's national team, I'll take it over anything else in sports. Outside of the NFL, regular playoffs, college regular bowls. I know, people think I'm nuts.
No, you're not nuts, but if you had to pick World Cup or high school football recruiting, where do you go?
Well, for a game, I'd go to the World Cup.
Well, high school football recruiting isn't a game.
That's what I'm
if
saying.
You had to pick one in your life, you can only watch World Cup games or follow high school football recruiting. You're taking high school football recruiting, and you're lying to America right now. Continue with your list.
I would do it because that lasts a lot in the World Cup. I get every
4 years.
But I'm saying the stuff that really moves me today that I gravitate to. NFL playoffs, NFL regular season, major college football bowl games, college football regular season, World Cup games I want to watch. NBA playoffs would be 6. No, I'm going to say this. NFL draft would be 6. Select NBA action, playoff games, would be 7. Number 8 is National Signing Day. Again, there's no reason to laugh at me.
Recruiting.
God, you guys are just, you're simpletons. You don't get the complexity and nuance of signing a 17-year-old from Beaumont.
Oh, no, we get it. It's 1 to 5 and they're stars. We get it.
You guys are jerks. So that would be 8. And I got to tell you something. I think NFL schedule could be 9. I know. I'm not I used to be an opening day baseball guy. You know what? I would say no, my bad. I would say number 9 is the bracket on Sunday night for March Madness. Like when the bracket comes out, I've never missed that. I think that's so much fun. So I would say the bracket show. Then I would say the NFL schedule and the 9. And my 10th would be some key March Madness moments. Like those first Thursday, Friday games when everybody's getting knocked off. I think that's great American sports. So that's the stuff, like, it moves me. How many of those are football? Let me count these real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 are football. World Cup, NBA, select NBA stuff, and March Madness. I mean,
you left out the Home Run Derby and the Winter Classic, though.
The Winter Classic?
Yeah, hockey outside.
Oh, God. How many do they – that used to be cute until it was like, oh, they're playing in a blizzard. It was one of those shticky things that was – it's a kind of a good idea, but it's like, okay, we get it. You play outdoors. Matthew, you're in the herd. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, thanks for taking my call, Colin. I think you're totally crazy on this. The NBA playoffs is certainly the best event and is an art sport in comparison to football, which is okay. And also, there needs to be an off season. It just gets boring. Anytime you're doing a mock draft, you know you have a problem. You know it's a nerd alert. Anytime you're doing a mock draft, we can just wait. We'll hear what's happening. We'll have more than enough time before the regular season to take notes on our favorite team. This is ridiculous. Analyze the NBA more, man. Come on.
Well, there's not a lot to analyze. I mean, we kind of know the 5 teams that can win, and we watch them play. And remember, in the NBA playoffs, there's almost no upsets because there's 7 games. So, NBA playoffs historically, the NHL playoffs give you a lot of upsets. The NBA playoffs give you almost no upsets. I mean, they don't give you any upsets because it's very rare to beat LeBron 4 times in 2 weeks. It's not going to happen. I can tell you right now, Cleveland's going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. LeBron and Cleveland are in the finals, and I would give you 7-1 odds they beat Chicago. I mean, there's not a lot of drama with that. Now in the West, there's more drama. The Clippers Spurs is very interesting to me because San Antonio looked really, really old. Jack, you're in the herd, buddy. Fire away.
What about the Masters? Where does that rank? Behind the signing day or the high school kids?
Recruiting.
Is Jack still there? Are you still there, Jack?
Yes, I am.
Now, can I just say this? Okay, I was telling somebody the other day, this is actually funny, that one of the things that could be my favorite things in the world, it just doesn't happen very often, is when it gets to be 5:30 to 6 o'clock on a Sunday night, and you're sitting there waiting for 60 Minutes on CBS, and it's Tiger, and it's Mick, or it's Rory, and it's a major, and it's like the 13th hole. I agree with you. I think that is incredible. But, man, Jack, you don't get a lot of those. We got a lot of those for about 10 years. There's not a lot of these guys now that I'm really riveted with. Now, I would admit, a major golf tournament on a Sunday at 5 o'clock, you've had a big weekend, you know what I mean? You're feeling good, you're sitting down, you're getting ready for like 60 minutes, and all of a sudden you got a leaderboard with 3 or 4 big names. It is great television. It just never happens.
Absolutely. What about boxing, though? Like the big match Saturday, that's nowhere either?
Well, here's the problem, Jack. How many big fights have we had in the last 6 years? 2? I'm with you, but it's like I'm with you. Those moments, but you can't depend on those. You just never get any big boxing matches anymore. Eric, you're in the herd.
Hey, what about WrestleMania? I know you're a huge wrestling fan. How is that not top 5?
WrestleMania. Honestly.
No?
Honestly, do you like WrestleMania?
No, I actually haven't seen it since I was 9.
Isn't it the strangest thing that Bill Simmons likes it? Like, how do you explain that?
Have you listened to him? He sounds like he's 9, too.
Interesting. I don't understand it. It is fake. It is scripted. It's not really true sports. People love WrestleMania. I got to tell you something. I watch these media people talk about it, and I don't mean to be rude, but I lose respect. And I love Bill Simmons, but he and Beetle need to go into therapy. I don't get it. People are like, well, it's scripted. It's like a sitcom. All right, but it's not sports. I don't get it. I've never watched the WrestleMania event. I haven't watched one since I was 12 years old. I haven't watched one. I don't even know. I liked Jimmy Superfly Snuka. That's a statement about your life. Because he put people in he came from the top rope. Jimmy Superfly Snuka. He came from the top rope. But, I remember Hulk Hogan being big, and I was like, we're adults now. Who's watching Hulk Hogan? We're like 24 years old. Their trophy's a big belt buckle. I mean, seriously. I don't really understand it. All right. ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. Call or click today and find out if you could save. Was my list that weird? Other than recruiting, I think it was a fairly normal American sports list. I like the World Cup more than most people. Let me be honest here. When the Team USA is playing, you're watching that thing. This country's watching that thing. Everybody poo-poos soccer. When we were playing Belgium, we
don't call you Uncle Ronaldo for nothing.
No, I mean, when Team USA is playing, very few things, maybe a Brady playoff game, maybe a major college bowl game, there's very little that interests me more than Team USA playing. It's the women's team I like watching.
Check out The Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and on ESPNU. The Thundering Herd Podcast. Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals. That one is gone. The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.